I want to welcome you to No More. I wanted to first apologize for being a little late. Radio Tribune is in the process of moving at this time. So today I'm going to take a different approach. Today I want to have a heart-to-heart talk with the parents and the youth in the community. Something that has really been tugging at my heart for a very long time now. So before I get started, like I always start my show, I would like to start with a little poem. This is something I wrote, and you can find this in my book called Looking into the Inmate's World Through a CO's Eye. I want to fit in. I wanted to fit in with the boy standing on the corner that has the bling bling and the fancy clothes and pretty girls. All I wanted was to feel like I belonged. My shirt didn't fit and my pants were too short. My shoes had holes. So I began to push those pills and sell that crack, coke to your mama, your sister, and your brother. Yeah, I got caught selling dope, but the system kept letting me go. Yeah, I might have stolen a couple of dollars or robbed a neighbor or shot your mother. All I wanted was just to fit in. You ask me if I care, I say hell no. Why should I? My daddy wasn't there or my mama didn't care. My daddy is doing 20 to life for killing a man. Ask me again if I care. Why should I care? My mother's been pimped out by the local pimp and getting high off that injection. I don't care if I live or if I die. I walk these streets like I own them, but deep down inside, all I wanted was to feel like I was needed. My so-called homies would pump me up to commit a crime, but left me alone to do the time. My mama don't care and my father wasn't there. All I wanted was a family to call my own. So the homie that called me family and said they have my back. So when I pulled that trigger like my nigga asked me to prove my loyalty, yes, I did it without any hesitation. So you ask me how I feel, my body is numb because now I'm facing 20 to life for pulling that trigger. I am now the product that a number to the system. I am walking the same yard as my father. All I wanted was to just have a family that was mine. No one had the time to show me they cared or show me the way. So what I have learned, it was self-taught. My mother and father failed me as a child, not to mention the system did too. So now I'm being punished for what I don't know and never was taught. So you ask me, do I care if I live or if I die? Now you answered that for yourself. It was written by yours truly. So like I said, today I want to have a heart-to-heart. We're going to be talking about youth in the prison system. Before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about myself. You know, I chose 3 topics today. And as a result of it, the topics changed because I asked God, Lord, give me a topic to teach or to talk about today. I'm going to talk about my struggles and what I've been through, only because my struggle can be somebody's testimony of victory. You know, I had 5 boys. Well, I have 5 boys I raised by myself, and one of my oldest boys was he's like me. We rebels, you know, we like to do what we want to do on our own. Don't listen to anybody. So my son was was going through his teenage years, being a rebellion. And being an officer in the system, I thought I can get help or receive help faster because I was on that side. Well, wrong. I was going to doors, knocking on doors, going down to the juvenile court system numerous times, calling numerous numbers to find out what can I do to help my son before he was actually become a product of the system. And time after time after time after time again, I was always told he has to be in the system first before he can even receive any help. Me as a parent, I thought that was kind of odd. Why would you wait till someone be in the system before they can receive any help? Why not be proactive? Why not do something first before a child has to go down that road? And I remember talking to one of my neighbors, and she also was going through the same thing. But unfortunately, her son was actually already incarcerated. And I was talking to her and asking her, what did she do? She said she did the same thing pretty much I did, knocking on doors, calling numerous people, but I always was told that she wasn't going to get any help because her son wasn't in the system. So why would any government system, why would any authority would tell someone who's seeking help that they can't receive any help because Their child is not in the system yet. I don't understand that. Um, yes, you do have parents out there that do care, and you do have parents out there that don't care about their child. But me, unfortunately, I do care about my children, and 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 this is why I'm doing what I'm doing today. Um, and you ask me why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I care. You ask me why? Because our youth are our future, and I have 15 grandbabies, and majority of them are male, young black men. And I'm doing this to try to pave a way for them because I don't want them to have to go through the struggles that I see these young men going through today. You know, I don't want to have to worry about my grandson walking down to the street corner, going to get him some ice cream or a soda pop. And because he decided to wear a hoodie on his head, he gets shot. I don't want to have to receive that phone call saying that my granddaughter was found with the cop had a knee in her back. I don't want to have to hear those phone calls. So you ask me why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I'm a grandmother. I'm doing this because I'm a mother. I'm doing this because I care. Not only for mine, but I care about the other youth in the community. I'm not getting paid big bucks to do this. I'm doing this because I care from my heart. This is from my heart. You know, when I was working in the system and I wanted to implement this program in the Nevada Department of Corrections, and I went to my ward and I was talking to him and I was letting him know what I was trying to do. You know, I wanted to mentor and help the children of the incarcerated parents. I wanted to help them before they fall victim or before they become a statistic in the system. But you know what I was told? I was told that that was a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. I took that as if he didn't care what happens to other people's children. So therefore, I'm no longer with the Nevada Department of Corrections. And I'm still doing what I want to do, trying to mentor the youth in the community. Started a mentoring program back in 2011. I let it go because nobody wanted to help me. I got kind of discouraged. But, you know, God kept tugging at me, saying this is something that he gave me. So I'm back at it again. And yes, doors have opened now for me and for my programs called It's Okay to Be Different. My husband helps me faithfully with this program. It's little, but it's growing. But again, I'm doing this because I care about what happens to our children in our community. And we have so many young people that are falling and becoming a statistic in the system, and they're just a number. They're not the name that you've given them on their birth certificate. They're considered a back number now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, and it's sad because there's so many young people out there that were inside the prison walls that I've had encountered that has great talent. Some of them guys write books. Some of them guys can sing. Some of them guys can rap. I met this one young man who was a hell of an artist. He drew, when I say he drew his butt off. He had beautiful portraits. And there was another young man that I also came in contact with. He wrote 2 books. So yes, we do have kids in there that do have talent. But me as a person, I think that as a community, we need to get together and help our young people. Yes, I remember being a teenager. I was rebellion, and I'm pretty sure you remember too that you didn't want to listen to what your parents had to say. You thought you knew everything. You know, oh, forget what my parents said. I know what I know, and I'm going to do what I want to do. But sometimes us as a child, we make those decisions. Our minds are not fully developed, right? So we're not making the right decisions that we would normally make being an adult. And we have so many kids that are mentally disabled. You know, they don't have the right medications to take. So yes, they're acting out. Yes, they're doing things that a normal child wouldn't do. And maybe if a child was on medications, they wouldn't be doing the things that they're doing. But because some people don't know, how can they change anything if they don't know? That's why I say education, educate yourself on many things. You know, a lot of parents don't want to say that my child has a disability, but it's not embarrassing because I have a son that's disabled. And I was never embarrassed to say that my son was disabled because I was looking for help for him. You know, and many times we are afraid to say anything because of pride. You know, if you have a child that needs help, grab somebody and say, "Hey, my child needs help." Don't be ashamed. You're not alone. You're not alone. There's many parents out there that's going through the same thing that you're going through. And at the time that I was going through mine, I thought I was the only one going through it. But as I went through, was talking to many people, I see that I wasn't the only one that was going through the same situation. Talking to my neighbors, she's going through the same thing, but unfortunately, her son was already in the system. I love my kids and I love my grandbabies. So once again, why I'm doing this, I'm doing it for them. So do you know that youth that are in the adult systems are approximately is 34% more likely to be rearrested for a felony? And there was a research that's shown that juveniles in the system are likely to reoffend. Why? Why do we keep making the same mistakes of putting the kids into the adult system? We have adult children, juveniles on the adult yard. I remember working in one of the facilities, and they thought that having some adults on the youth side would kind of help them and mold them a little bit, kind of keep confliction down. But me, I didn't see that it helped any, because now you have these young kids on adult yard. Now they're more vulnerable. Now they're open up to so many different things. They learn how to do things that they didn't even know before they came inside. And I can vouch for that because I was an officer and I didn't know how to hotwire a car. I learned things inside prison than I did on the outside, and I was an officer. So that's why it kind of bothers me to see that. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that if a child commits a crime that he shouldn't, be punished. He should be held accountable for it. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I believe that the youth should be totally separated. I believe that the youth should not be mixed in with the adults, because now the youth is almost like a little fish in a shark tank. Um, I'm going to tell you a little story that I encountered working at High Desert. I had a young man that was in my unit. He was 21 at the time that it happened. And at that time, I also had my son was 21. So it kind of brought reality into place, because I thought maybe, if that was my son and that was my child. This young man was raped in prison, and it happens a lot. Being a young person in an adult facility, things like this happens. So what happened was, the night prior to me coming into work, he had been raped by some inmates in his unit. One of them being a convict, and he had two lookouts. Well, actually, I take that back. He had one lookout that was standing outside on the tier that was looking out to make sure that no one was coming by. So he had two other guys inside the cell with him, holding this young man down as he began to perform his sexual acts on this young man. This young man screamed and he hollered and he hollered and he screamed, but no one came to help him. So then it was said and done. And so the young man rode a kite and he told an officer what happened. So when I came on shift, the young man was already in the cell by himself now. And as I was approaching his cell door, he started banging and screaming on the door, thinking that I was going to let him out so he can get raped again. He says, all you're going to do is let me out so they can get to me. All you're going to do is let me out so they can get to me again. I says, no. I said, talk to me. Let me know what's going on. What happened? So he began to tell me the story. And as he began to tell me the story, I started beginning to have goosebumps. The hairs on my arms stood up, because all I could see this could have been my child. And he says, Miss A, he said, this is my first time ever going to prison. This is my first time ever being in the system. He goes, I don't have any family. I don't have my mom, my dad. I don't have nobody. I'm out here by myself. And he said he was in here for writing bad checks. Yes, it's wrong. But the punishment that he received was sufficient enough. Now that he was inside the system, now he got punished again. Why? Because he had to endure something so tragic as this. His manhood was taken. He was now belittled. Now he had low self-esteem because all this took place. Now he had the fear in his heart that all officers, everybody is bad, everybody's out to get him. And it's not true. So as I had to put him in restraints to escort him up to infirmary, all he kept saying is, you're going to let them hurt me again. You're going to let them hurt me again. I says, no, I'm going to be right here by your side. I'm not going to allow anything to happen to you. I'm going to escort you from here all the way to the infirmary. So he goes, and I don't know why I deserve this. I'm not a bad person. I don't know why this happened to me. I'm not a bad person. You don't have to be a good person. You don't have to be a bad person for something like this to happen. The only thing that I see that happened was the fact that a young person had to go onto an adult yard. And it's sad, and it's because this goes on around the United States where many get raped. And that's why they have in place, it's called PREA, where they post it's a program where they protect the inmates in the system that are accusing people of prison rape, or they have already been. And what they do, they investigate. And you know, back in 2003, and this happened in Texas, it was a 7-year-old young man who was incarcerated. He had set fire to a trash bin, and he was raped repeatedly, and then later hung himself. You know, kids are not strong enough. Some kids are not strong enough to deal with this kind of this tragic tragedy that occurs in prison. You know, and around the holidays they get lonely, and a lot of suicides occurs around that time of the year because they're not home with their parents, they're not home with their family, enjoying Christmas, opening presents, eating mom's good cooking. They don't have that. Now they're subject to prison walls, 10 by 10 cells with a cellie who can be a clean cellie or who can be a dirty cellie. It can be, you know, a lot of things, a numerous of things. And believe it or not, most juveniles who serve time are eventually released, and they will either be traumatized from sexual assault or hyperviolent from having learned to defend themselves in prison. Congressional conducted a research and found out that juveniles were 5 times as likely to be sexually assaulted in an adult rather than in a juvenile facility. Often within their first 48 hours of being incarcerated, they may encounter this act. They have many youth advocacy groups that believe that juveniles should be housed on a juvenile facility and not in an adult facilities. And this 17-year-old man, he was drugged, he was gang raped several times, and nothing happened. You know, being a youth in adult prisons are the hardest hit and the easiest prey for sexual abuse. Being a juvenile in adult prison can be very overwhelming to you as a child and to the communities in which they're going to be released back into. And 80% are released before their 21st birthday, and 95% are released before their 21st, before they turn 25. And believe it or not, some of them do come back because they have been rehabilitated inside, and they're being released back into the community or the area which they have been growing up in. You know, and people think that what they watch on TV, these prison shows, Prison Break, all stuff is like what happens in prison. No, You know, a lot of things happen in prison. A lot of things are covered up in prison, because they don't want the news to find out what's going on. They don't want the family members to find out what's going on. And these are people's lives that we're playing with. Or, you know, these young people are in the prison system, and and it's like there's no help for them. They feel that there's no help for them. They're afraid to go talk because they feel being a snitch, you know, as they say, snitches get stitches. So, you know, they're afraid to go and tell someone. But yes, there are some people that do snitch kites, that inform officers of what's going on. And so that way officers are aware of what's going on. And believe it or not, children who are 8 and older can be charged with murder and automatically are prosecuted as an adult. You know, incarceration trends in America from 1980 to 2008, the number of people incarcerated in America quadrupled from roughly 500,000 to 2.3 million. In the U.S., 5% of the world population and has 25% of world prisoners. Combine the number of people in prison and jail with those under parole, probation, supervision, 1 in every 31 adults, or 3.2% of the population, is under some form of correctional control. Now, let me break it down to you in ethnic groups. African Americans now constitute nearly 1 million of the total 2.3 million incarcerated population. African Americans are incarcerated at nearly 6 times the rate of whites. Together, African and Hispanics comprise 58% of all prisoners in 2008, even though African Americans and Hispanics make up approximately 1/4 of the U.S. 1 in 6 Black men have been incarcerated as of 2001. If current trends continue, 1 in 3 Black men born today can expect to spend time in prison during his lifetime. 1 in 100 African American women are in prison. Nationwide, African Americans represent 26% of juvenile arrests, 44% of youth who are detained, 46% of the youth who are judicially waived to criminal court, and 58% of the youth admitted to state prisons. And that is alarming. And I'm not saying we don't have every ethnicity, in the prison system. We do. But what I'm concerned is that our African American males has a very high percentage in the prison system. You know, we need to get back as a community where it says it takes a village to raise a child. It does. We have so many young men who want to follow the footsteps of rappers. They want to follow the footsteps of ex-gang members or family members. But we need to reach out to them and tell them it's not the way. You know, a lot of these kids nowadays think going to prison is a badge of honor. They think, oh, I did a dime. You know, I'm bad now. I'm bad. You know, you go in there trying to make a name for yourself. But in reality, all he's doing is setting himself up for failure. You know, he think it's cool to do what his friends want to do. You know, he think it's cool. Oh, my homie this, my homie that. But where's your homie when you're doing the time? Your homie's not there. And I can't stress this enough. I really can't stress this enough. Our youth is our future. You know, and I hate to see that our youth are wasting away thinking it's cool going shooting, killing people over their colors. Or even girls now. Girls are doing the same thing as guys. You know, girls are setting up guys, trying, you know, for their boyfriends who's from another set. You know, they setting them up, telling, you know, making some other guy thinking that they're interested in them and luring them to a location. And now he doesn't know what he's walking into and he gets popped. So it's not only the men out there, the young men out there doing it, it's the young females too. And when I first started working in the system, you know, I asked, why is a woman in prison here in the community? You know, right across the street from housing development. Why is it? And then the men are all far out, way in Timbuktu. And someone told me, and I thought it was very funny. Someone told me that the reason why, because they don't believe women can do as much harm as a male. And I'm a woman, and I think that was funny because women can do just as much dirt as a man. We just a little bit smarter. We know how to hide it a little bit. But I mean, women knows how they when they get in a rage, they shoot. When they get in a rage or under the influence of something, they can go and commit a crime, commit murder. We had an inmate that was locked, a female inmate in there that was locked up, that chopped up her husband, only because he used to abuse her. But she chopped him up and placed his body parts in different parts of Las Vegas. So I don't see how they say women are less likely to do as much as harm as a male. But when we had these women that's out there doing the same thing, and I just believe that something needs to be done as far as our youth. We have a lot of mentoring programs that's out there that are doing great. It's doing wonderful jobs with our kids. And I want to say thank you for reaching out and doing your part. But if we all get together as one, because we all fighting the same purpose, we're all on the same crusade. If we all get together and take a bunch of kids and show them the right way, then we don't have to worry about our youth being incarcerated. Like I mentioned a few shows ago, we don't have to worry about our president of the United States serving the country behind prison walls. And some of these kids are very talented and very smart. You sit down and talk to them and they can tell you 3 or 4 things you didn't even know. They can run circles around some of these adults. But all they needed was someone on the outside to just take time and show them and tell them, hey, this is how you do this. You go this way. Or you go this way. Excuse me. But nowadays we have a lot of young people that are raising babies by themselves, and they don't know. So what I want to say to you, don't be embarrassed. Don't be prideful. If you have an adult in your church congregation, and if you have an adult, that a trustworthy adult, not just any adult, that you believe can help you with your son or daughter, allow them to assist. Go and ask them. Don't be afraid to ask them. And say, hey, how do I do this? Or can you help me do that? There's nothing wrong with that. Because when I was growing up, it was a lot of adults in our community growing up, and they helped other families on our streets. They took the time out, even though they had their own kids, they had their own lives. But if Joe and John and Samantha and Tina needed help, they all were allowed to come into the home, and they taught them. So it was like they had a second family. And there's nothing wrong with that. And because somebody wants to help you, it's not saying that you're a bad person, you're a bad mother. They just see that you need help. It's okay to ask for help. We all caught up nowadays where we don't believe that we need help, or we don't want to ask nobody for any help because we think it's going to make us any less of a person. No. It makes you a strong person to step up and say, I need help. It makes you a very strong person to say, hey, I need help with my child. There's a saying that they used to say, a squeaky wheel gets heard. If you don't make any noise, how's anybody going to know that you need help? Make as much noise as you possibly can to get the help that you need for your child. A lot of people don't want to take the time and to help you with your child because they're afraid how you're going to react to them. A lot of parents now, if someone says something to your child, you want to fight them and you want to cuss them up inside down the road and everything else. But don't do that. If they're teaching your child the right way, allow them to assist you. We have so many good people out there that are willing to help you. We have China Hudson that takes a lot of time and help young women out there. And I love what she does. Just Flow and Deja Robinson and Lavita with Black Girls Inspire. They're doing a lot. And Deja also with No Boys Allowed. She does a lot for the community. So there are a lot of programs out there that you can get involved with. And you can ask. If you don't know, ask somebody. And I'm pretty sure that they can direct you to the right place, the right person. We have men out there that's doing great. We have DJ Thump, who's always in the community. We have what's his name? Lou Collins, that's out there doing things for the community. We have so many men out there, and not to mention Adrian. They do a lot of good things for the community. So, if you go to the Pearson Center, if you don't know where to go to the Pearson Center and ask for help. They can help you. So I want to say this, and I know I'm cutting short. It's okay to ask for help. If you know that your child needs help, it's okay. And it's not going to make you any less of a person to ask for assistance. Because we have so many of our young babies that are losing their lives over senseless acts. Whether they are killing somebody, beating up somebody, or what have you. Either we lost them to being 6 feet under the grave, or we lost them to the prison system. So either way it goes, both family loses, and the community, we lose as well. So once again, I want to say, as a community, let's step up our game, and let's take back our children from the streets. Not to mention, on that note, the Radio Tribune is relocating to a new location next weekend. And It's Okay to Be Different is looking for some mentors. So if you're interested in becoming a mentor, you can reach us at 702-380-0828, or you can also look us up on OK, the number 2, letter B, different.net. We are always looking for more mentors. And if you have a child that wants to become a mentee, you can also reach us at the same information. And I want to thank you for tuning in to It's Okay to Be Different. That's all I have to say. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's right.
What you did so soon? What you did so soon for?
What are you so saying?
The funeral over already?
Yeah,
That was quick.
that's the way I like them.
Oh, God. This show sucked today.
No, I wasn't here.
Whatever.
Yeah. You only had 30 minutes?
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, 30 minutes? Why?
No, we did 30. No?
Yeah.
You did 33 minutes.
Well, I deducted from your pay.
We both was late. He was late too.
Huh?
He was at the new location.
Where is it?
They said 2 blocks.
You can follow me there now.